Ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew. I'm not going to hold you long. This is just a very quick lunchtime special. I just got a couple questions I want to ask. First of all, we getting right into it. I'm getting right into it. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with Jake Paul. I just trying to figure that. Listen, I'm not gonna hold y'all too long. What's going on, Don? My man Lucky, salute. I just want to know what's wrong with Jake Paul. Because it seems to me a lot of people after the fight over the weekend that Jake Paul had with Mike Tyson, it seemed like they're all having a problem with Jake Paul. I just trying to figure out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson did big numbers live gate at AT&T Stadium. Correct? Hey, Ariana. What's going on, sweetheart? Many Face Publishing. What's up? Salute. Right? Mike Tyson and Jake Paul put up big numbers. I'm talking about live gate. I'm talking about ticket sales. I was told they broke a record. So I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with Jake Paul. Listen, don't get mad at me. I'm just asking a question. It seems like to me, ever since Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, and when I say early, I'm talking about immediately after the fight went off, there were people on YouTube, and let me be more specific. There were boxers on YouTube, professional boxers on YouTube criticizing Jake Paul. And I don't understand it, right? I don't understand it because, let me give you some names. I don't understand it because these fighters that were criticizing Jake Paul and his performance, well, they used to be professional fighters at one point of time. Let me give you an example. Paulie Malignaggi, Oscar De La Hoya, Andre Ward, Sean Porter. Those are the guys that I heard make a reference to Jake Paul and or Jake Paul's performance or the lack thereof. So what I'm trying to figure out is what's wrong with Jake Paul. I'm just trying to figure out, because to me, knowing and understanding the business of boxing, Jake Paul is good for boxing. I mean, think of it like this. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, main event, right? AT&T Stadium, first time Netflix did a live broadcast streaming boxing, right? Well, that's the main course. But what about the appetizers? I'm talking about the undercard. That was a really good undercard, y'all. Seriously. You look at those fights that came on before Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fought. Mario Barrios. That was a good fight. Shoo Carrington. Then you got Katie Taylor and Serrano. Rematch. Good fight. These performances of all of these athletes on the undercard, right, lived up to the hype, but more importantly, right, they had the opportunity. They had the opportunity to be a part of this event. Something that they probably would not have been able to do right away. And that's all I'm saying. Jake Paul is good for boxing because of situations like this over the weekend. Let me be a little bit more specific and take it a step further, right? Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, right? They brought more eyes to Netflix in one night. They brought a lot of people to AT&T Stadium. The exposure that both of these guys were able to generate, what it did was it had a domino effect for every fighter that participated on the undercard. In other words, is all those fighters on the undercard, they were able to see an opportunity, media exposure, and most importantly, a check. You see my point? Now, I know that somebody who is a detractor of mine, I'll just call them haters, they might come back and push back and say, Manager Marty, why are you talking about the undercard? We talking about a 60-year-old Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. That's what we talking about. So why are you bringing up the undercard, Manager Marty? Are you using that as an excuse? And this is what I'm going to say well in advance before any one of my detractors give me pushback on this. The same reason why I'm bringing up the undercard to uplift those fighters that was on undercard and give credit to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson is the same reason why I criticized everybody that had their hand in allowing Terrence Crawford to fight David Evanesian. Y'all remember that? See, most of y'all were here with me from the beginning. So y'all remember I was the only one on YouTube talking about the undercard. I'm talking about the undercard that David Evanesian was scheduled to compete in overseas. Y'all remember that? And because he was lured into fighting Terrence Crawford, David Evanesian being removed as the main event attraction in a European title fight overseas to fight Terrence Crawford. Guess what happened to that undercard? None of those non-fighters, it was 9 of them, 9, 4 undercard, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8 fighters, plus the competitive fight that David Evanesian was scheduled to be in with the other opponent. That's 9 right there. 9 fighters were not able to get paid or compete because the show was canceled. Why? Because the main event attraction, David Evanesian, was lured off of the card. Y'all remember that? When Terrence Crawford fought him, I know some of y'all might not remember this. Most of y'all do. When Terrence Crawford fought David Evanesian, 7 months before he fought Errol Spence Jr., 9 professional boxers were not able to get paid on the undercard of a pre-scheduled approved bout overseas. So that's the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying about the undercard of the Jake Paul Mike Tyson event, because there were fighters that were able to get paid and have the opportunity to gain maximum exposure. You know it was maximum exposure because most of us kept seeing the buffering sign. Y'all remember that? You know, some people had the broadcast buffering. I don't know anything about technology, but I know that might have been a possibility, possibly, that a lot of people was tuning in on Netflix. Because here's the great marketing strategy that Netflix used, opposed to DAZN, ESPN, etc. They said all you had to do is have a subscription. Whether you have the least amount paid subscription, was that like $7 or something? And the most is about $18. And I think they have a middle tier in between as far as pricing, right? It didn't matter. You were able to have access to all of these fights without having to pay a separate charge for pay-per-view. That's a great marketing strategy, and I believe it worked. Jake Paul is good for boxing. Now, to those of you that might push back and say, Manager Marty, how is he good for boxing? Well, first and foremost, he's able to make a living in a sport that has no bar to entry. Let me reframe that a little bit to help you understand what my point is. Because you know, Jake Paul don't have any amateur background as far as amateur boxing, right? Unlike Paulie Malignaggi, unlike Andre Ward, unlike Sean Porter, and unlike the golden boy, Oscar De La Hoya, right? Okay. Let me ask you a question. Because I heard a lot of people say this about Jake Paul. Oh, Jake Paul ain't no real boxer. Even though he's licensed, even though he trains hard, even though he's taking the sport seriously, even though he's competing inside of the ring, he's generating millions of dollars, not just for himself, but all of the people, not just working with him, but all of the people that compete on these undercards. Well, you're going to get some money when you get on a Jake Paul undercard and he the main event, you're going to get paid as a boxer. Even though he's doing all of these things, Jake Paul is not a boxer. So I got a question on that because I'm just trying to figure out something. So if Jake Paul is not a boxer, then how come Bill Haney's a trainer? I'm just asking the question. Don't get mad at me, some of y'all. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. If Jake Paul is not a professional boxer, a one who is actually meeting the job requirements and the job description, if he's not a boxer, then how is Bill Haney a trainer? I'm just asking the question. What my point is, there is no bar to entry in boxing. So we can't pick and choose. You see? You see, most of my haters, right? I got to shoot a shot at them. Kept asking me time and time again, Manager Marty, who you manage? Never asked Rick Glaser who he managed. Never asked Rick Glaser who he match made for. Never asked Bill Haney who did he manage. You see, people pick and choose is where I'm getting at with this. People pick and choose. When they want to throw a shot at me, oh, they pick and choose with talking points they want to use against me. But all I'm saying is keep that same energy and apply that same logic to everybody else. You see? For example, let's take Sean Porter as an example. Now, Sean Porter said this fight was not entertainment. Excuse me. He said this fight was not entertaining. You know, it was basically lackluster. You know, it had no flash. He seemed like he was disappointed, right? But we got to keep it 100. Jake Paul only has, what, 11 professional fights, y'all? I mean, he doesn't have any amateur background experience. He only has 11 professional fights, 11 or 12. Could be 12 because he did lose one time. He only has probably a total of 12 professional fights, and he's been fighting and boxing professionally for 4 years, going on 5 years this January. And he's fighting a guy in Mike Tyson who's almost 60 years old, right? But that didn't stop Mike from going to go get that 20. I heard, I don't know if that's true. I disagree with it, but we heard that Mike Tyson made $20 million and Jake Paul made 40. Whether that's true or not, they are in the multi-million dollars. And all I'm saying is Mike Tyson ain't have a problem with Jake Paul. He went in and got that check. Floyd Mayweather didn't have a problem with Jake Paul's brother, Logan Paul. He went in there and got that check. That's all I'm saying. So with Sean Porter saying it wasn't entertaining, he was like really like coming at Jake. And I'm trying to figure out who that. Ahmed, salute to Ahmed for subbing to the channel. Appreciate you, big dog. This is my thing about Sean Porter. And this is not, I'm not throwing no shot at Sean. I'm just asking him a question about this. When did you, Sean Porter, as the A side, I'm just asking the question, as the A side, when did you go into a location or a venue that wasn't your hometown and did the numbers that Jake and Mike Tyson did? I'm just asking the question, y'all. Don't get mad at me. What's going on, Big Lump? My man Lump in the building. Salute to my man Lump. So Jake Paul is good for boxing is where I'm getting at with this. But when did Sean Porter, as the A side, go to a venue where he did the numbers that Jake and Mike just did? Okay, no problem. Paulie Malignaggi. You see, Paulie Malignaggi has always been critical of Jake Paul, saying he's not a boxer, you know, saying that he shouldn't get no real credit for fighting Mike Tyson and winning because Mike Tyson was 60 years old, blah, 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 blah. But I got to question up Paulie now. When was you, Mr. Paulie, the A side at a venue where you was the main event attraction, not in your hometown? Because Jake Paul is not from Texas. But not in your hometown where you did the numbers that Jake did. I like Andre Ward, but I got to call him to the front too. Because he said in the small little video I saw yesterday by the phone booth that all Jake Paul got to do is say his name. And he'll come out of retirement because he hasn't been in the ring for 7 years. And what I'm trying to figure out is, I'm just trying to figure something out. Why does Jake have to call out these names, bro? Why? De La Hoya? De La Hoya was a cash cow. So I can't go and use the same angle on De La Hoya that I used on them other 3 fighters. But I will say this about De La Hoya. This is my thing, De La Hoya. How many fighters do you have in your stable? That's the A side doing numbers like Jake Paul. And I know somebody's going to say Ryan Garcia, and I like Ryan Garcia is because he's marketable, but we got to keep it all the way 100. When Ryan Garcia fought Devin Haney, according to what De La Hoya said, they only did 300,000 buys, pay-per-view wise. I'm just going by what the promoter De La Hoya said. And on top of that, that was the second pay-per-view, major pay-per-view that Ryan Garcia was involved in. The first one was with Tank Davis. In other words, this Oscar De La Hoya did 2 co-promotions with his #1 star over there. When is he going to do a whole promotion with the A-side Ryan Garcia with a reputable opponent to do big numbers like Jake Paul? Double salute to my guy, Andre Smith. He's a member of the channel, supervisor of the Road to Tape film crew. So where I'm getting at is this, Dre. A lot of these guys, this is what it sounds like to me. A lot of these guys are throwing shots at Jake Paul because Jake Paul is exceeding some of the accomplishments that they've exceeded. I'm talking about in one fight as the A side in a major stadium like AT&T Stadium, because I heard it was sold out. That's what I heard. See, when you do the numbers that Jake Paul do, what that does is that open the floodgates for other professional boxers to get the rightful shot of exposure and marketability and profitability that they deserve, where those opportunities may not have been available for some of those fighters. That's all I'm saying. So Jake Paul was exposed. Yeah, he was exposed. He was exposed. He was. He's supposed to have been exposed. It's Mike Tyson, bruh. I don't care how old Mike is. Now people will say, oh, Mike Tyson didn't have any legs. Mike Tyson is almost 60 years old. And Mike Tyson don't regularly box, y'all. But Mike looked good. With the circumstances and elements surrounding Mike Tyson, his health situation that he had that postponed this fight in the first place, the fact that he had a knee brace, the fact that he's almost 60 years old, he was in better shape than most of us half his age. And he still got in there and got this, the check. And that's what I'm concerned about. The fighters getting paid. You see, when I had Rick Glaser on here last year, I walked him right into the trap to admit that he don't care if the fighters get paid. Y'all remember that? He told all of you, and he told me. He said, I don't care if the fighters get paid. He told y'all that. But here it is. I care about the fighters getting paid. And all I'm saying is a lot of boxers got paid that night. All of them on the undercard got paid that night. Watch this. It don't stop there. It extends. The referees got paid that night. Ring announcers got paid that night. The commentators who did they could have done better. That's all I'm gonna say. They got paid that night. Think about that. Content creators on YouTube pushing out the content to promote this fight and speak on it, and even after the fact, got paid or will get paid, in December. Content creators, you're gonna get paid in December just for talking about the fight, pre or post fight. Everybody gets paid. That's all. The promoter got paid. Watch this, y'all. The commission in Texas got paid. Jerry Jones, who owns the Cowboy Stadium, he got paid. The judges that competed in this fight all night long, they got paid. You see how this opens up? Watch this. It don't stop there, y'all. The hotels in Dallas and in Arlington, they got paid. The restaurants around there got paid. The casinos got paid. You see how one event gets everybody paid? Netflix, even though there are technical difficulties, it kind of did put a damper on the experience. But guess what? They still got paid. How is Jake Paul bad for boxing when everybody, including Paulie Malignaggi, who has his own YouTube channel, get paid for speaking on Jake Paul and Tyson, including Andre Ward, who's a host of All the Smoke podcast, just by talking about this fight. In fact, he interviewed Mike Tyson. He got paid for that. How about Oscar De La Hoya, when he do his clapback Thursdays, where he said Mike Tyson was going to knock Jake Paul out? He got paid for that, right? What about Sean Porter? Don't Sean Porter have a podcast, The Porter Way? He got paid for talking about Jake Paul and Mike. All I'm saying is, where's all this hate coming from for Jake Paul? When everybody's getting paid, even the ones that's throwing shots at Jake. Don't get mad at Jake Paul. He's marketable and profitable. That's all I'm saying, Andre Smith. Double salute to Dre, supervisor and member of the channel. Double salute to my guy, Jay Sir, supervisor and member of the channel. See, everybody got paid from this one event. The inspectors who check and inspect and sign off on the hand wraps and the boxing gloves, they got paid. I told y'all the athletic commission, they get paid first anyway. But the point I'm making is everybody got paid. So if Jake Paul's not a real boxer, then how can you equally say that Bill Haney's a trainer? Have you ever seen Bill Haney train Devin Haney? I'm just asking the question. I'm just trying to figure it out. Show me a YouTube clip show me 5 YouTube clips in the last 8 years where you saw Bill Haney holding the focus mitts for Devin, teaching him drills in the gym. Just show it to me. Just show me a minimum of 5 in the last 8. What credentials did he have before he became Devin Haney's trainer? Did he used to box before? Oh, he didn't? Okay, but people praise Bill Haney for being a manager of the year and a trainer, right? Oh, okay then. So don't let the rules become so different all because it's Jake Paul and his brother. This is just the business of boxing. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about his performance. I didn't expect anything else. Bottom line is, it's good for boxing, and so is Jake. And so because there's no bar to entry in boxing, oh yes, Jake Paul is qualified. He's putting his time in. He's putting the work in. He's paid the right people around him to keep him sharp, to train him properly, right? To wrap his hands properly. He have his own promotion company. I'm just saying, a lot of people throwing shots at Jake Paul, including former fighters that couldn't even generate the numbers that Jake Paul generated when they was in their prime, when they was the A side, away from their hometown. We need answers. You know what? I see what's going on. I know exactly what's going on. I'm doing way too much talking. Hey, don't take my word for it.